on Public Debt, Bonds, and Financing will now come to order. It's a special meeting. We have one item on the agenda.
Item number 1 is the Los Angeles World Airports and City Administrative Officer reports and resolution relative to the issuance of revenue bonds payable from the Airport Revenue Fund in one or more series in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $950 million for major capital improvements at the Los Angeles International Airport. Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee on May 21st recommended approval.
Okay, thank you. CEO, any comments?
Natalie Brill, CEO's office. No, we recommend this move forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Lawa?
We have some preliminary comments. Marla Blevins, Los Angeles World Airports Finance and Budget Division. I also have here with me to my right Ryan Yakubik, Director of Capital Budget and Capital Development and Budget, and Steve Martin, our Chief Operating Officer. We are requesting the approval of the resolution that is before you to authorize the issuance of up to $950 million in airport revenue bonds. The proceeds from the sale of these bonds will be used to support improvements at the Tom Bradley International Terminal and the South Airfield Improvement Program, and to refinance previously issued debt for savings on principal and interest payments. Portions of these capital projects have been funded already with cash and commercial paper, and part of the bond proceeds will be used to reimburse LAWA for cash spent on the projects and to pay down commercial paper notes. The resolution that is before you authorizes the repayment of bonds from airport revenue funds, a negotiated sale of the bonds, the selection of the underwriting team from our underwriting pool, which includes Goldman Sachs, De La Rosa and Company, Bear Stearns, Siebert Branford Schenck, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Loop Capital Markets, and Ramirez and Company. It also authorizes staff to proceed with the formation of documents and an exemption from CEQA, as this is an administrative activity. The underwriting team for this transaction has been composed in such a way to achieve the objectives of leveraging the airport-specific expertise of our banking pool and to provide a meaningful way for local firms to participate and gain valuable airport sector expertise. I, along with staff from LAWA, are available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What kind of participation are we likely to see from the pool of underwriters, participants in this?
The way that we've structured the participation, it's in 4 tiers.
Okay.
At the top tier is the senior book running manager, which in this case is Goldman Sachs. The next tier down are the co-senior managers, which consists of De La Rosa and Company and Bear Stearns. And then we have what we're calling our first tier co-managers, which consists of Siebert Branford Schenck and Citigroup, and then our second tier co-managers, which consist of firms from our co-manager pool, and those are Loop Capital Markets, Ramirez and Company, and Morgan Stanley. And we will work with the underwriters to set up a designation policy to that will reward them for the amount of liability that they're assuming in this transaction and the amount of work that's being done.
Okay. Now, I've seen situations where there's been a robust, very diverse pool, small firms, larger firms, et cetera, on some transactions over the years since I've been a policymaker. But I was a little disappointed when I saw on occasion you would see, say, 2 of the firms out of, say, 6 or 7 end up drawing down, 80+% of the fees between 2 firms, and then maybe 5 or 6 firms drawing down on the remaining, 15%. Are we likely to see a scenario like that, or is it going to be a little bit more evenly distributed as far as participation and, as you mentioned, through the policy designation, making sure that people, the liability that they incur, that they actually get a proportionate share of the transactions?
We're a little hesitant to throw out exact numbers because we haven't.
No, I'm not asking you for
Okay.
exact numbers. I gave you a general example, and I just want to know, are we likely to see that kind of example, or are we going to see something that's more well-rounded when it comes to higher participations across the board?
I think our designation policy can be structured in such a way to assure commensurate participation with the liability that's being taken on by the firms participating. So I don't think you'll see an issue of 1 or 2 firms being able to take down the entire deal at the expense of participation by smaller firms.
Okay.
And I think, I could go a little further and say that we really expect to cap the senior book running manager at something 50% or less to make sure that doesn't happen. And,
Okay.
and the work will flow to the other firms in the pool.
Right. Because the firms that are involved here, they all have a certain level of qualification beyond just handling 1% of the deal, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure, because I remember one time here at the city, a different kind of transaction. It wasn't a negotiated deal, and I noticed that there was another firm that the winning bidder mentioned was going to be participating. So I asked the question. I said, "So what's going to be their level of participation?" And the council was told 1%. Well, with all due respect, I didn't own a business in this realm, but being a business owner, if I'm going to be working on a transaction and 1% of the deal was coming my way, I mean, to a certain degree, sometimes it's not even worth a firm's time to engage, to be in the meetings, to be involved, and to get 1% of the business is really something that isn't so much advantageous for firms sometimes. Sometimes it's disadvantageous because they're spending all that time and energy, and then really the return on time and investment and expertise really wasn't utilized. So that's one of the things that I just like to point out. If we're going to be involving firms and they have proven to be qualified enough to be in the pool, then they should be having a respectful amount of participation. Obviously, not everybody, when you're talking 6 or 7 firms, you can't have everybody do 50%. Mm-hmm. I mean, that just, it's impossible. But, you know, to have firms collectively, maybe a couple of firms doing 80% of the deal, and then you have 5 other firms doing, you know, an average of 3% of the deal, on average, that to me isn't well balanced, especially if it was determined by the organization hiring them that they certainly are qualified and they deserve to be involved in rolling up their sleeves and putting their expertise on the line and getting the job done.
We could definitely achieve the balancing goal in the sense that on the top end, we don't think anybody ought to get an undue share of the business, and on the bottom end, we'll make sure that they get a fair share of the business as well. And I would point out that this is the first deal that LAWA's done at LAX in a very long time, and a lot of this deal is structuring the way the bond indentures work so that we can do future deals much more efficiently, and I would expect more participation from local firms in future deals now that we're getting the structures in place that will make the deals a little easier to pull off.
Yeah, I'm very happy for LAWA. I'm glad that LAWA is finally turning a new leaf. When you look at, where does LAWA rank when it comes to, or LAX rank when it comes to across the country? What are we, the 3rd largest or something like that?
We're the largest origin destination airport in terms of, you know, traffic that's local as opposed to connecting traffic, and I think we're the 4th largest overall airport.
Yeah.
We're very large.
And where do we rank when it comes to putting bonds out so that we can reinvest in our infrastructure at our LAX?
We're kind of off the scale on the low end, that we haven't done much investment at all in the facilities.
Yeah, to me it's embarrassing as a policymaker and someone who's lived in Los Angeles all my life, and someone who certainly recognizes the fact that Los Angeles, Hollywood, is recognized around the world. And for us to be the gateway here on the West Coast to the rest of the world, and for people to come into our airport and really not be welcomed with the kind of pizzazz and the kind of flair and the kind of facility that Los Angeles, what people want to see and expect to see in Los Angeles. I mean, come on, this is Hollywood. And people come here, and I travel around the world too, and every time I come back to LAX after being in any airport that's had any decent renovation in the last 10 to 15 years or sooner, I'm embarrassed. And I'm not here to beat you up. I'm here to say thank you for being part of the team that is actually embarking on putting forth the kind of activities such as putting out $950 million in bonds. And I look forward to seeing you again and again and again so that we can finally look back in a few years and say we've got, you know, several $1 billion of construction going on, and we still have plans for more, and things are going well. And you know, we're finally getting our facility in the kind of shape that it deserves to be in. And forget about just the glitz and glamour. It's about the practicality of it as well. When was the last time we invested billions of dollars into LAX as an infusion? I'm sure over time, there's always hundreds of millions of dollars in operating dollars, but I'm talking about infrastructure.
The last major investment in LAX was in 1984, just before the Olympics.
Just before the Olympics.
Probably didn't even reach the billion-dollar level at the time.
Yeah.
And that was primarily the construction of the Tom Bradley International
International.
Terminal as well as the upper level roadway. But I think back in 1980 dollars, it didn't approach the $1 billion mark.
No.
Yeah.
And so it's been, way over sort of 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years, way
before
too
we'll
long.
get to the $1 billion mark. And the only terminal that's had any investment is Terminal 4, which American Airlines put about $300 million into Terminal 4. But outside of that, there's really been no infusion of investment in the facilities.
Well, I mean, that's a sad truth. I appreciate you, pointing that out and answering my questions. But I hope that, at least during my tenure here, that's plenty of time for us to see a lot of the proper level of activity and infusion of infrastructure dollars to take place. And in addition to that, I want to compliment LAWA on understanding that there's absolutely the right time and place to go out with negotiated deals. And in addition to that, looking at our responsibility to our surrounding community and trying to make sure that we enhance opportunities for well-qualified California, Los Angeles-based firms. I like the mix of the names that you read off. It's a good thing. And at the same time, should anybody not perform, they need to be reminded that they fell below expectations and maybe they're not going to be included next time, because there are other firms out there who are saying we're qualified too, and there's only room for so many per transaction. I think that you've done a good job in outreach. It looks like you've done a good job in getting responses, and you've done a good job in deciding who's going to be the firms that are going to be challenged with the opportunity to do the work for LAWA. So thank you. Good work. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions? Anything, Natalie? Nothing, you sure? I haven't seen you in a while. We'll be seeing each other soon.
I know.
Okay. With that, we will take public comment now. Is anybody here to make public comment on item number 1 to this committee? Anybody here for public comment? You sure? Nobody filled out a card. Okay. Public comment on this item is now closed. So with that, on this one item on the agenda, it'll be the recommendation of the chairman of this committee that we move this to be approved forthwith, and it has a placeholder on the council tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
So recommendation of this committee is this item be approved. Again, congratulations. I want to thank you for your good work, and also extra compliment because it's not like you've been working your way toward a $950 million bond, issuances with the lack of activity at LAWA. I want to say you've chimed in very, very well, and you're up to speed. It sounds like you've got all the elements moving in the right direction and all of the flavor and responsibilities that we expect from all of our proprietaries. You've done a good job, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this item is approved, or recommendation to be approved, because we do not have a quorum, so it's a recommendation of the chair to approve, and it'll be on the city council floor tomorrow. Also, if you could bring with you you have a chart, correct, on showing our investment or lack thereof when it comes to, if you could please bring that with you to the floor tomorrow. I'd like to demonstrate to my colleagues how far behind we are. And I just want to be honest with you, I just put that to previous policymakers, previous politics in the city, and I think with this, we're in a new day. Okay?
Do you want it electronically or hard copy?
Hard copy.
Okay.
Hard copy would be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. With that, is there anybody else here to make comment to this committee? General public comment? General public comment going once, twice. General public comment is now closed. This committee is now adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.